In what should be San Jose's hot spring season, something isn't quite right. It's not adding up, and we may be seeing some red flags. Average days on market has jumped to a shocking 59 days. Price reductions are surging, and sales are slow when they should be accelerating quickly. Is this something to be worried about? Well, in this video, we're breaking down the key numbers for the San Jose real estate market in April 2025, from median prices and inventory shifts to what these changes really mean for buyers and sellers heading into the summer. So you don't have to worry, we'll have all the info right here for you. And I'll also share what I'm seeing on the ground and which trends are worth paying attention to. So whether you're planning to move, invest, or just keep tabs on the San Jose real estate market, let's unpack what's really happening behind the headlines. Hi, my name is Theresa Wellman, a local realtor here in San Jose. And with that, let's jump right in. All right, let's talk about inventory levels and active listings. Active listings and market momentum vary by type of property. So what I mean by that is a single family home market is very different than the condo and townhome market. So for single family homes in San Jose, there are 461 homes currently available versus last year in 2024 for the same time, 299. So that's a 50% year-over-year increase. But you'll remember 2024 and 2023 were very low inventory markets. So we're heading to a little bit more of a normal inventory level. Now for condos and townhomes, there is 357 available versus 218 last year, which is up 63% year over year. So even more drastic than the single family home market. Now single family home inventory at that number sits about 1 month of supply, and anything under 3 months of supply is considered a seller's market. But condos and townhomes have over 2 months supply, and you can feel how much slower this segment is moving. For example, a townhome buyer I'm working with had 4 to 5 new homes each week that kept coming up and matching his criteria. That's a lot of inventory to look at each week, but if you think about the homes that were sitting from prior weeks that were still available, all of a sudden he had over 30 properties available matching his criteria to choose from. And I've not seen this much selection for a home buyer in a while. Now, this listing growth is outpacing current sales for sure in the condo and townhome market drastically, but also in the single family home market, indicating a growing supply and demand gap that will likely have a buildup of supply. So San Jose still technically sits in seller territory with that 1 month supply in the single family homes, but compared to this time last year, buyers are starting to see a lot more options and sellers are facing more competition. So now let's take a look at the median pricing and see how this shift in inventory is impacting seller expectations. So for March 2025, the closed sale median single family home price in San Jose is hovering around 1.75 million. That's up 2% compared to last year, March. And the average prices, though, are up 5% year over year. March sales closed 7% over asking price, which is on average $120,000, indicating heavy bidding wars for well-positioned homes. But 20% of all listings have already dropped their price today in mid-April, double last year with the same time frame, showing signs of a market shift. So are prices staying the same, and can we expect April data to be as strong? Well, April closed sales numbers are likely to see much lower than 7% over asking, because I'm personally seeing less offers coming in for even stellar homes on the market. Overbidding and how much overbidding happens comes down to that initial pricing. In San Jose, many homeowners choose to price their homes under market value to drive multiple offers and a quick sale. Sellers who are sticking with the same list prices used for sales in January and February are doing fine with multiple offers and overbidding, though they may not be achieving the same top prices. But sellers who pushed their list price based on the closed sales from the overbidding in January and February are finding much less activity, longer days on market, and sometimes price reductions. So essentially what this means is prices today have softened slightly from the extremely strong market we saw in January and February. And what are buyers actually willing to pay? I'm seeing for the most part that pending sales are coming in at numbers from the fall 2024, slightly lower than the January-February closed prices. There definitely has been markets in the past where prices peaked in February and slowed down for a bit and then peaked again later later in the year. So that might be what's happening here. Price per square foot varies a lot by neighborhood, but overall average in San Jose is $960 a square foot. Stable, but pretty flat over the last month or so. Since inventory is still relatively low at just over 1 month's supply of inventory, homes that are priced right and show well are still getting multiple offers. I sold one last week with 4 offers, $200,000 over the asking price, which was more than 10%. So it's happening for the right desirable properties, absolutely. But we did underprice that one intentionally to move it quickly. Now, some interesting facts. In Q1, the first 3 months of the year, 100 homes sold over the $5 million price point in the Santa Clara County market. Not many of those were in San Jose, but all across Santa Clara County. Now, the high-end market is stronger and less affected by the stock market volatility that we've seen, and we will address in a little bit. So, list prices are strong and consistent, but sold prices and price cuts tell a different story. So, if a home is not in a neighborhood sweet spot with turnkey condition, it's likely getting ghosted. So let's talk about the time on market and how long it's actually taking to sell in this market. So the average days on market is 59 days for single family home versus a usual spring average of 30 to 45. So it is definitely up. Now the median days on market is 14 days versus the typical spring median of 8 to 10 days on market. So what's really the difference between the average and the median days on market? Because there's a huge range there. And what does it really mean? Well, the average days on market is truly an average of the entire market, including the small percentage of properties that are sitting on the market for months. But median is where most homes are transacting. So that 14-day range, if a property is priced well, right, in a good neighborhood, in a good condition, you can expect it to sell in about 14 days. Now, if they've missed the mark on price or condition, or it's just not one of the top neighborhoods, it actually could sit much longer towards that average days on market. Hopefully that makes sense. So this split shows that some homes are still selling really fast, but others could be sitting and dragging up that average. So let's talk about the condo and townhomes and how that's different. They're averaging 60 to 75 days on market right now, with the median about 20 days. So it's a whole week longer than a single family home market. Now, days on market is one of the clearest signs we're in a transitional market. The top 20% of listings are still moving quickly, but overpriced and underwhelming homes, well, they're just sitting. So what about momentum? Are buyers actually writing offers or just watching from the sidelines? So we're talking here about closed prices and then days on market, but really pending sales are a great indication of what's actually happening in the market. Pending sales are low for this time of year, but they are up from the prior month as we would expect in spring, just not as much as we would typically expect. In March, we typically see a huge bump in the number of sales, but we're just not seeing that large of increase with the pending sales as we would expect. And because of that shortage, it's likely April closed sales will be shy of what we expect to close as well. Now, 35% of homes available for sale in San Jose are in contract, and 25% of condos and townhomes are in contract. So as you can see, condo and townhome market is just not quite as healthy as a single family home market. But we all know here in San Jose, that extra piece of land that you get when you're buying a single family home is what you're paying a lot of the value for. So it makes sense that the single family home market is a little bit stronger. So factors today indicate a strong spring market, but we think it's just slightly delayed, not canceled. So economic uncertainty right now is absolutely contributing to this delay in the market. We have a volatile stock market that has definitely cooled buyer activity and for sure added a lot of fear in many home buyers. Some buyers have decided to just sit and wait, but sales continue for really motivated home buyers despite the higher interest rates, which were counterintuitive to the decrease in stock market. So if you're a smart buyer who pulled your down payment money out of the stock market when you started your home shopping, which I advise my clients to do, then you're in a really strong position right now. Much of the buyer energy is focused on best condition homes that are updated and in prime neighborhoods, and we see more of a slowing effect in further south or less desirable neighborhoods like Santa Theresa or Blossom Valley as compared to, say, West San Jose, which is still doing really, really strong. So how do you navigate this market? Well, let's talk talk about real-world strategies for buyers and sellers who want to win in the next quarter of the year. So sellers, pricing 2 to 3% below what you believe market value is from day one, you will see better and faster results. Listings that go 3 or more weeks without much activity are increasingly heading toward price reductions. So that's not a spot you want to be. Now, buyers, if you're targeting those stale listings that have been sitting there 3 to 6 weeks on market, you have much more leverage to negotiate. Unless that seller is just taking a huge price reduction to reset, you might have to compete again. But this is not an all-in, go hard and compete anywhere kind of market. It's a surgical one. You need to know where to strike and when to pivot. Whether you're buying or selling, subtle tweaks can make a 6-figure difference. Yeah, I'm not kidding. They can make a big difference. And we're not in a hot market, but we're also not in a cold market either. We're in a smart market, a market that rewards those who are tuned in, strategic, and willing to act while others hesitate. So if you're planning to buy or sell in San Jose this spring, this is the window to move smart, not fast. Don't just rely on headlines or guesswork, and absolutely don't rely on that national news. Let's break down what the data means for you in the neighborhood that you're targeting. So whether you're upsizing, downsizing, or trying to figure out if now's even the right time to list your home, call me at the number on the screen and I'll help you build a clear plan. Thanks for watching.